Hello, today we're going to talk about pest control. Um, Pests are one of the biggest damages to your fruits, vegetables, your crop, your harvest. They're going to be your biggest culprit. Um, Insects, not all of them are bad. There are some good insects in your garden. We'll go over those. But the first thing to do when you see insects in your garden is not to reach for a spray bottle. I'm going to try and coach and teach to use organic and natural methods first. Obviously, if something can't be taken care of, I think that a chemical pesticide could be appropriate, but that's never going to be a first line of defense. It is literally going to be what we choose after everything else has failed. So, what does it mean to use natural pest control? It means we're going to be a good steward, not a warrior. Not every pest in that garden, or not every insect in that garden is a pest. There are good ones. So we need to encourage the good insects and discourage the bad insects because the good insects are telling us something. They're telling us your food is and your garden is healthy enough for us to be here. And the bad insects, in a way, are telling us something too. They're saying the food you're eating is good enough to be eaten. They wouldn't be on the processed stuff from the store. So, if you're doing it conventionally, the key is to kill all pests. You're trying to keep everything out of your garden. The natural way, we're going to encourage good insects. The conventional way is relying on chemical sprays. We're going to use prevention first. That can be row covers, that can be hand picking the bugs off, that can be planting companion plants that discourage the pests. And the conventional way says we're going to react to problems, whereas the natural way, we're going to observe and respond appropriately. So, natural pest control is gaining ground. The market share is growing a lot. People are realizing the very poor health outcomes we are having from decades and decades of putting pesticides and chemicals and artificial fertilizers into our bodies, into our food, and into the environment. So this movement's gaining a lot of ground. We're just early to the curve, or earlier than most. There's obviously a huge chunk of the populace that has come before us, and making it a little bit easier for us, giving us this information so I can help spread it further. So, what are your garden's good guys? Ladybugs. Ladybugs are one of your best pests. Um, they are going to attack and eat the aphids and the mites that are on your plant, tons of them. They are one of the best insects in your garden. Lacewings, also good for eating aphids and mites. And then there are parasitic wasps that are really good for the tomato hornworm, i.e. not good for them, like they go and lay the eggs on the worm and the worms, their eggs hatch and devour the worm caterpillar. So they're good guys too. And then outside of insects, there are some beneficial nematodes, funguses, and bacillus and bacterium, all of which also help. Those act a little bit more in the soil, whereas the insects are, there are predators. They're coming out and taking the bad guys out right away. So what can you do to encourage the good guys onto your property? Um, Not having a monoculture. There are so many bad guys nowadays because everyone just wants to grow grass and spray pesticides and herbicides on it. There is nothing, there's no flowers to encourage the pollinators and the good guys like the ladybugs to come and eat the aphids and other bugs that are on your plants. So having a diverse garden helps. Many plant sources to allow for the parasitic wasps, the lacewings, the ladybugs to feed on while they're in between munching on the aphids and the other bad guys in your garden. The next thing is offer them a water source. So a shallow dish with some rocks in it make a good water source for bees, pollinators, and also these other good guys in the garden. And the last thing you can do is we want to have a tidy garden because we don't want it to be um, overrun, cluttered, a lot of debris, because those also attract the bad guys. But that's like right next to your garden. Off to the edge, you can put some shelter or overwintering spots that help. Finally, if you're gonna have to go to a spray, like if we've avoided the direct control, we've avoided bringing in the good guys, and now we're on to a spray. There are organic sprays that aren't too indiscriminate. So neem oil works well on aphids, mites, and whiteflies. It interacts with their hormones and stops them from feeding and reproducing. Another option is insecticidal soap, and that takes the fatty acids and proteins off their exoskeletons and makes them dry out and die. So those also work on aphids and spider mites. But they have to make direct contact with the bug to work. And then there's finally pyrethins, which come from a flower, and they're nerve toxin for insects. The problem with this is it's not just the bad guys. These also can hurt your pollinators as well. Same thing with the insecticidal soap. So it's just important to spray those things when the pollinators aren't out and not on our ladybugs and stuff. The last one is diatomaceous earth. That works really well. That's right on the soil. It prevents the pests from climbing up the plants. So that is another option that you have to protect your garden from the bad guys. Crop rotation, companion planting, and sanitation are all really important. So by rotating the crops, you confuse the pests. Most of the time their larvae go right in the soil and they come back up expecting to eat the same thing that they ate when they were laid there. So if you've planted your kale over in a different garden, now those those flea mites or flea bugs that land on them, they're not in the same spot. So we've got a better outcome. And companion planting, that's just planting marigolds and other things that maybe have a pungent odor to the insect pests and are attractive to our good guys. And marigolds smell pretty good, so they're attractive to us too. So we're trying to build an integrated pest management system. And that means that we are reacting to what we see. So we're identifying. We're going out in the garden, we're spending some time, we're looking at the pests, we're saying, okay, I have cabbage worms right now. Here is what I need to do. Well, if you've only got one and it's really not put very many holes in the leaf, maybe you just wait for that parasitic wasp to come by and kill it. If you've got entire leaves skeletonized, then you need to do something about it. So that's where you're setting your action threshold. Then you're monitoring for those early signs, and then you're choosing the least toxic control first. So those cabbage worms, pick them off. Or, better yet, put row covers on when you plant the kale so the moths can't even get there to lay the eggs. Last steps would be, those neem oils or insecticidal sprays. One question that comes around a lot is, are natural methods as effective as chemical pesticides? The answer is yes, they're just often not as quick. And people want to substitute speed for all the other benefits. So that pesticide that you spray onto your crop, it kills the bad guy, it kills the good guy, it kills the pollinator. It creates a condition that stresses your plant, and it leaches nutrients out of the soil. So that quick fix was expensive, hurt your plant, hurts your soil, and kills insects that we need. So build a strong garden, use some neem oil, use some row covers, and have a garden that doesn't kill the good guys, doesn't destroy your soil, and doesn't break the bank. This natural pest control is the way to go. I hope this information helps. I hope next year you all can have a very successful year gardening and staying on top of pests, and I hope this information helps.